Marissa Dankulich did not know something happened to her mother until her friend at the main room, a hair salon next to the German apartments, messaged her saying she should check on her mother.
Then I saw the scanner pages and I just kept reposting, does anyone hear the name Marilyn? And then I messaged my aunt and I realized when I was talking to my mom, she just stopped replying.
On Tuesday night, Dankulich's mother, 66-year-old Marilyn Waller, was the only victim of 3 who survived an attack by a man with a machete. 38-year-old Michael Woods is charged with the attack. He is facing several charges, including 2 counts of a homicide and 1 count of attempted homicide. The attack took place on the 6th floor of the German apartments, the same floor Waller lived on. This photo was obtained by 2822 News exclusively of Woods moments after he was arrested. Dankulich said Friday morning her mother is able to sit up and talk after multiple surgeries at Geisinger Community Medical Center. She says she never could have foreseen this at her mother's apartment.
This is stuff you see happening other places. It's not where you're talking to your mom and something goes wrong and there's a machete attack in a building that your mom's lived in safely for 12 years. That should never happen.
Waller's daughter said she thinks no one at the hospital expected Waller to survive.
The team at CMC has been caring for her around the clock, and I can't thank them enough for that. Like, there were things that should have been worse that actually didn't happen with surgeries.
Reporting in Scranton, Connor Core, 2822 News.
Dankulich says that a GoFundMe has been set up to help cover some expenses for her mother's recovery. If you'd like to contribute, you can find a link on our website, 2822news.com. In our Instapoll question today, we are asking, do you think there should be more restrictions on owning machetes and swords? Here's a look so far at the voting, and you can vote by scanning the QR code. You could go to 2822news.com or on our app under the drop-down menu. Then go to our Facebook page and share your opinion about why you chose the option you did, and we may share that with our viewers. Police are investigating after 2 people were hit by a car last night at a busy intersection. It happened around 5 o'clock Thursday evening at Harrison Avenue and Mulberry Street in Scranton. A man and woman were walking on the road when they were hit. They suffered serious injuries and were taken to the hospital. It's unclear if the driver will face charges. Police in Lycoming County think a man torched his home. South Williamsport police say Paul Best admitted lighting a boot on fire Monday night and then leaving as the smoke alarm sounded. No one was hurt, but he's locked up. 2822 News initially incorrectly reported that there were others inside the home at the time of the fire. We apologize for the mistake and any confusion. Bundle up if you're heading out tonight. It's going to be a little chilly out there. We've got the latest with meteorologist Valerie Smock.
And it seems like chilly is just something we've been dealing with. It's like,
winter.
oh, what's another cold night? You know, why not? Let's just throw those teens in there one more time. And that's exactly what we're going to be looking at is temperatures that are a bit on the colder side. So we're currently at 25 in Wilkes-Barre and Scranton. We're at 21 Montrose, 25 into Williamsport, now 23 in Pottsville. And we're still dealing with some gusty winds, but these are nothing like we had yesterday. These winds are sustained, I'd say up to about 10 miles per hour, but you will get those gusts into the mid-teens and even 20s, especially across Mount Pocono. Now, when you look outside in downtown Wilkes-Barre, nothing really to speak of. We have no rain, we have no snow. It's basically just going to be some fairly quiet weather throughout the night tonight. Now, you are picking up a few flurries, if that, across the northern tier, but that is really very minimal, if at all. In the big picture, you will see that a lot of this snow from yesterday has really just moved out, and we are good to go here across much of the northeastern and central parts of Pennsylvania. But I am tracking some snow for the weekend. I'll have the latest timing coming up here in just a few.
All right. Thank you, Valerie. A problem-plagued road in Wilkes-Barre is finally open for good. The city fully reopened Horton Street today. Part of it had been closed since June after 2 sinkholes opened up. The road briefly reopened for Thanksgiving, but it needed to close again after the holidays so that crews could replace a manhole. The city had to extend the deadline on the project due to contractor equipment issues. A new mental health center is officially open in Wayne County. The Northeast Regional Crisis Stabilization Center opened its doors in Honesdale today, and this morning's kickoff included 2 ribbon cuttings. speeches from community leaders, and tours of the new facility. The center has two parts, a stabilization unit and a residential unit. The stabilization unit allows people to find support from counselors and peers for a short period of time, while the residential unit is for an extended stay, and all of it at no cost.
The view for crisis is that people have somewhere to call, somewhere to go, and someone to respond. And this is the somewhere to go.
Citizens of Wayne and Pike County and surrounding areas have not had this level of care. So I think with this nice facility, ease of access, no cost to anybody receiving treatment here, I think people will be a little more apt to get help when they need it.
If you or someone you know is struggling, we have a link to the center on our website, 2822news.com. A former state leader may be out of office, but she's back in the spotlight. What the Trump administration decided to change with Dr. Levine's official portrait, coming up on 2822 News.
Season.
Back during the first year of the pandemic, anyone in the position of Dr. Rachel Levine couldn't avoid controversy. She led the Department of Health back when everyone had strong opinions about things like mask and vaccine mandates. But as Seth Kaplan reports, she finds herself in the middle of a new controversy, this time about her name.
She will be the first openly transgender official ever confirmed by the United States Senate.
And as far as then Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer was concerned back in 2021, that was a good thing.
The historic nature of her nomination should not be lost on anyone. But Dr. Levine thoroughly deserves to be confirmed on the strength of her qualifications.
Dr. Rachel Levine, that is. As Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services, she became Admiral Rachel Levine. Her portrait still hangs in the Department of Health and Human Services lobby. But under it, HHS, now led by Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has changed the first name Rachel back to her male birth name. Transgender people call that a dead name and consider the intentional use of it hurtful.
Disrespectful, stigmatizing, and outright dangerous.
Corinne Goodwin of the Eastern PA Trans Equity Project.
For example, if we're in a business meeting and somebody dead named me, I'm going to start thinking in my head, what is wrong with me, as opposed to focusing on what's supposed to be happening in that business meeting, for example.
We haven't managed to reach Levine, who told National Public Radio, which first reported on the change, she was honored to serve the American people and did not want to, quote, comment on this type of petty action. Before going to Washington, Levine served under former Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf, who told us Admiral Levine served the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the nation with distinction during very difficult times. These attacks on her are gratuitous, nasty, brazen, and completely unnecessary. But the department tells us it remains, quote, committed to reversing harmful policies enacted by Levine and ensuring biological reality guides its approach to public health. Dr. Levine's time here, it says, will be looked upon as a sad footnote in the otherwise storied history of the department. Seth Kaplan, 2822 News.
Vice President J.D. Vance is set to visit Pennsylvania next week. The Associated Press reports that he will be in Allentown Tuesday night. He's expected to focus on the economy and assure voters that work is being done to address inflation. A state lawmaker plans to introduce legislation to make it easier to make a will. That bill would make electronic wills legal in Pennsylvania. It will allow people to create wills online. Supporters say it will lower the cost of getting a will done and increase legal assistance where there are shortages. Supporters also say many Pennsylvanians are making e-wills, thinking that they are creating valid documents. The Federal Trade Commission has tallied up all the complaints of unwanted phone calls in 2025, and Pennsylvania fared pretty well. Out of the 50 states, the FTC says Pennsylvania ranked 34th for unwanted call reports. In 2025, Pennsylvanians reported more than 85,000 violations of the Do Not Call registry to the FTC. The top 3 complaints in Pennsylvania were for reducing debt, medical and prescriptions, and imposters. Future Alert meteorologist Valerie Smock has your forecast next, but first, here's a look at what you can see on News Nation.
News Nation tonight. Sports legend Bob Costas joins Chris Cuomo live, tackling the Michigan football scandal and the fallout after the former head coach. News Nation. To find News Nation on your screen, go to newsnationnow.com.
Tis the season for the flu, and health professionals want to remind you to give yourself and others the gift of health by getting your flu shot. 2822 News reporter Heidi Martens has more from Lackawanna County.
Today, state health and aging leaders spent the morning urging everyone in Pennsylvania to get their annual flu shot, especially before the holiday gatherings. The Shapiro administration says now is the time to get vaccinated, since it takes 2 weeks for the body to build strong immunity. Today's visit to the senior housing at Bucktown Center in Dunmore highlighted how important the flu shot is for older adults, people with medical conditions, and anyone at risk of complications. This comes after Governor Shapiro signed an executive order earlier this year that aims to protect access to evidence-based vaccines in Pennsylvania. The Department of Health also released updated guidance to help health providers and residents make informed decisions. Seniors here at Bucktown Center say they take vaccinations, especially in communal living, very seriously.
I would remind people that because we're healthy as a result of being vaccinated. And I encourage people to check with their doctor, with their pharmacy, whomever their healthcare provider is, and to ask their neighbors, are you vaccinated? Have you gotten your flu shot?
Pharmacies in our area are also stepping in, urging everyone to get their vaccines before it's too late.
The most common thing that I tell my patients is preventative health care is the best form of health care, right? So I don't want to see you when you're sick and you have the flu and I have to give you a prescription for it. I'd rather see you a month before where I can give you a flu shot and then you don't have to see me, for a prescription to treat it.
This year, there is a new product available for people ages 2 to 49. This is an intranasal flu vaccine that can be ordered and sent directly to your home. With this, you can get vaccinated without having to leave your house. Officials say getting your flu shot now could help keep medical centers from filling up before the busy holiday season. Reporting in Scranton, Heidi Martens, 2822 News.
State officials say flu shots are available at most pharmacies, doctors' offices, and community clinics. Many are also covered by insurance. The holiday spirit is lighting up our neighborhoods, and we want to see your dazzling displays. Whether you've decked your halls, wrapped your roof in lights, or turned your front yard into a winter wonderland, show it off. Send us photos or videos of your holiday house through our Report It app. Scan the QR code on your screen and upload them, and we'll feature some of them right here on 2822 News. And it is the most wonderful time of the year, and we're making it even better with the 12 Days of Streaming Sweepstakes. This is how you enter. First, you have to download the 2822 Now app on your Roku, Apple TV, or Fire TV. It's totally free. Free to download, free to stream. Then you launch the app, find the QR code, scan it, and then enter your information. And you could win some amazing prizes, including $1,500 in groceries from SureSave. No purchase is necessary, and remember, you can only enter on the 2822 Now app. $1,500 would go a long way.
And you have to think, and you don't want to necessarily be negative about it, but it's like, will that $1,500 really?
This day and age.
Eggs are so expensive, and it just, oh my gosh, your grocery bill is so high. But yeah, the $1,500 would be very useful, I'm sure.
Yeah, those grocery stores are going to be buzzing this time of year. Probably this weekend, everyone's going to want to maybe stay inside too if we've got weather coming.
Yeah, they might, because we do have some snow showers that are going to be moving into the area here before the weekend is done. Right now, you're looking at a few snowflakes across parts of New York State. And then those flurries are trying to move down into the northern tier, but they're not really doing very much. It is pretty quiet here for the most part. And when you take a big picture, we are looking at some snow that is across parts of New York State down into the Commonwealth. There's really not much going on. So that is where we are going to see at least a quieter day today compared to how things were yesterday. Downtown Scranton, look at Courthouse Square. Everybody moving along quietly, and we are going to be looking at some, again, relatively quiet weather tonight with clouds building in as we go into the overnight hours. You're currently at 25 in Wilkes-Barre and Scranton, 27 into Bloomsburg, Lewisburg at 26, and a degree cooler than that now in Selinsgrove. As you're planning your day, we do start off with more clouds than sunshine, and those clouds are going to be hanging out with us throughout the majority of the day. And while it's not showing it here, a flurry or a snow shower is not out of the question. However, your best bet to be picking up some accumulating snow is going to be Saturday evening, Saturday night, and Sunday morning. Let's just add insult to injury. It's going to be a breezy day as well. Nowhere near the winds that we had yesterday, but it is going to make it feel just a touch on the colder side with those higher winds. Now, in terms of timing on Futurecast, we have those scattered snow showers during the day. But then we now have some snow that will start to really fill in across the area once we get into Saturday evening and Saturday night. This will continue through the area, and then it will start to move south and east. Now, let's just point this out. The farther south and east you go, the more likely you are to be picking up the higher amounts of snow. But when we're talking higher amounts, it's still really not that high. Here are the totals. 1 to 3 inches of snow anywhere from Montrose down to and through Tunkhannock. Bloomsburg kind of right there on the edge, and then on east from there. So 81 points east, you have the potential for 1 to 3. Most of it's going to be more so 1 to 2 inches. And then the farther west you go, you're picking up around a coating to 1 inch of snow. So this isn't one of our hardest hitting snowstorms, but more snow. It's kind of a drop in the bucket at this point. So your temperatures here through the start of the weekend are going to be in the 30s, but then that colder air will start to work its way back in as we head into your Sunday. So we're actually going to be feeling that chill of the 20s, not only Sunday, but we're going to get it on Monday too. But that is short-lived because we're already back in the 30s and then eventually the 40s as we head toward the middle of next week. Here's a look at your Future Alert 7-day forecast. So we do have the scattered snow showers and flurries Saturday and Sunday. Best chance for the accumulations being Saturday night. And then we'll be looking at a mix of clouds and sunshine by Tuesday. Temperatures back in the 30s. And then we're actually tracking some rain showers by Thursday, but that high of 46 is going to be something that I'm sure a lot of folks are like, break out the shorts.
Yeah.
We're going to be sunbathing in the back. You know, it's crazy that we've had such a cold December.
Right.
And now we're finally welcoming back to 40s.
Be a lot of dripping that day.
A little bit, yeah.
Drip from everything. Thank you. The former Michigan head coach faces 3 criminal charges, and Steelers star player TJ Watt is officially ruled out for Monday night's game following a treatment session at the facility. Elena Lucido is next with sports.
Today.
Welcome back, everyone. Former Michigan football head coach Sherrone Moore now faces 3 criminal charges. In Moore's arraignment earlier today, details came out of his actions that led him to being jailed just hours after being fired from the university. Moore now faces felonies of these alleged accounts: 3rd-degree home invasion, stalking in a domestic relationship, and breaking and entering. Moore finished his season with Michigan with a 9-3 overall record. The team is scheduled to play in a bowl game against Texas in just a couple of weeks. This firing comes at a tough time in college football as we are weeks away from the transfer portal opening, and at this point in the season, most coaching positions have been filled. There are now 5 names being mentioned among those who could take the job: Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer, Washington head coach Jedd Fisch, Duke head coach Manny Diaz, Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter, and Cleveland Browns offensive coordinator Tommy Rees. And Steelers defensive end TJ Watt underwent surgery yesterday to stabilize and repair a collapsed lung that occurred after a dry needling treatment session at the Steelers facility. Watt's older brother JJ Watt said on social media this afternoon that the surgery went well and he is expected to be released from the hospital sometime today. Watt has officially been ruled out for Monday night's game against the Miami Dolphins.
You know, I care about him more than a football player too, so you never want to see something like that happen, and you know what he means to us and this organization. So it's one of our brothers, and you know, hopefully, you know, he gets back soon. You know, when he is out there, he's one of the best to ever play. So, when you have a guy like that out there, it's a game changer. So, I think that, what we're doing right now is just hoping he's getting better and feeling better and just here praying for him.
TJ's done a great job of being a leader, not just in the room, but in the whole building and organization. And I think he rubs off on a lot of people in the right way. And because we have great guys, great leaders that'll pick up that slack for Tej. And I think that he's prepared not just myself, but a bunch of the younger guys in that sense to be able to take on that larger role, not just as a player, but as a leader and bringing that energy and just doing everything that he does right.
Be against the Dolphins for Monday Night Football. Kickoff is set for 8:15. That's a wrap on sports. We'll be right back.
It's time once again to celebrate the incredible women who make a difference in our lives and communities. Remarkable Women 2026 is officially underway, and we want to hear about the inspiring women in your life. Visit 2822news.com/contests to nominate someone today. One extraordinary woman will be selected as our grand prize winner, and then they'll get to travel to Nashville to participate in the National Remarkable Women Celebration early next year. In our Instapoll question today, we asked, do you think there should be some more restrictions on owning machetes and swords? Many people who voted are sharing their thoughts about this one, because right now it's kind of been going back and forth between yes and no, but the majority are saying yes. Well, Carol says it's probably too hard to regulate. And JT says the only thing that stops a bad guy with a sword is a good guy with a sword. Hey, we want to thank you so much for your comments, and we want to hear your opinions about this too. First vote in our Instapoll, then head to our Facebook page and leave a comment about why you voted the way you did, and we may share it with our viewers. And Mother Nature is going to share some more snow with us.
Yeah, yay, gotta love it. Yeah, we do have some snow coming back in overnight, Saturday night, so generally less than 3 inches.
Okay, well, appreciate that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at 7.
I'm Maddie Biertemple from Capitol Hill. Here are the latest headlines from Washington, D.C. this week. House Democrats released more photos from the Epstein estate Friday. Our Raquel Martin has reaction from Capitol Hill.
So far, Democrats have provided zero context about when or even where these photos were taken, but they did cover up the faces of the women in the pictures. They say tens of thousands of photos were released to them last night.
The latest batch of photos from the Epstein estate show President Donald Trump surrounded by women and side by side with Jeffrey Epstein. The photos also feature other notable figures like former President Bill Clinton, former Trump advisor Steve Bannon, and Bill Gates.
For us, this is about transparency.
California Congressman Robert Garcia, the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, says the 19 photos his team released Friday are just a drop in the bucket of what's to come. At his request, the Epstein estate handed over roughly 95,000 photos Thursday night.
Some of these photos are really disturbing.
The White House is accusing Democrats of trying to create a false narrative. A spokesperson writes, quote, "The Democrat hoax against President Trump has been repeatedly debunked, and the Trump administration has done more for Epstein's victims than Democrats ever have." After signing a bipartisan bill backed by Epstein's victims last month, the Trump administration has just 1 week to release the so-called Epstein files, records compiled from the Department of Justice's investigation into the convicted sex offender.
I mean, it's a crime if they don't.
Republican Congressman Thomas Massie led the bipartisan effort on Capitol Hill to force the DOJ to release the files.
What we're seeing now is that the bill is working.
Other men featured in the photos, including former President Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and Steve Bannon, have all denied knowledge of Epstein's crimes. Garcia says more photos will be released in the days and weeks ahead. Right now in Washington, Raquel Martin, back to you.
We asked lawmakers about what's next for health care as they were leaving Capitol Hill Friday. Take a listen.
We have exerted, as Democrats, every point of leverage that we've had in this moment to try to demand votes, to try to demand a pause so that we can address this issue, and every single Republican in governance has refused to engage this matter. Meanwhile, people are going to be kicked off of their insurance. Open enrollment is happening right now, and there are going to be millions of Americans that are affected, that aren't going to be able to go to a doctor, aren't going to be able to afford their prescription drugs because of some petty fight in Washington. And I think it is the lack of urgency and the lack of care on this issue is so indicative of how disconnected people are from the real life consequences that people are experiencing because of this. People are going to die. And I don't understand why they can't just extend these subsidies so that we can save people's lives while they figure out whatever their political food fight is.
Is an extension with those abortion restrictions better than no extension at all?
An extension with abortion restrictions kills women. So no, I'm not going to allow this Republican majority to kill women in this country so that they can try to do whatever their victory lap is. I will not accept women and the lives of women as some political cost for them being able to extend these things.
Well, I think, first of all, on the subsidies, I would support putting those directly in HSAs for constituents, for consumers. Let them make decisions. There's obviously guidelines around HSAs, but we're going to have to move off of just continuing to subsidize Obamacare. It's going to bankrupt the country.
Do you see a solution coming before the 31st?
We'll see. I mean, it's the largest ticket item on the budget for our country, and so I don't. Moving really fast could be a mistake as well, and we get it wrong. We need to get it right, and so there's been a lot of discussions this week, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more next week. I don't know if something will come together that fast, but I think we're going to have a couple of pieces of legislation next week that at least start addressing that, and then next year will be a big year on that discussion.
Well, first of all, I think there are several bipartisan options to really address this terrible issue. It's going to affect millions of Americans, tens of thousands of Virginians. Rates are about to increase. I mean, shockingly for many people that are receiving notices right now. We only have a few weeks to fix it. And so we need to have a common sense bipartisan fix, whether it's a 1 year or 2 year extension. We may even be appropriate to put some conditions on it and some means test. In any case, we have to fix it. Otherwise, millions of Americans and tens of thousands of Virginians will suffer.
Do you think Congress will come to a solution before the 31st?
I think the prospects are not great right now, just to be completely blunt. We're further apart than we need to be, but this is an issue that's motivating to both sides, and we have to come together on a solution. It's simple as that.
And what will end up being the fruit of Republicans' labor to actually bring the cost of care down, not pretend and buy into this framing of Democrats that somehow extending these premium tax credits are going to make health care more affordable. That's going to end up, to me, in a reconciliation where we do what we did with the big, beautiful bill. We just do it around health care. Maybe there's some other policies that will help accelerate growth in the economy and bring prices down. But certainly we have the tool in the toolbox to make another unilateral Republican run at reforms that we believe will bring the cost of care down. Fix the Unaffordable Care Act. We have several ways to do that. Make private health insurance more competitive and provide more affordable options from that market, which is far greater than, 10 times greater than the Obamacare market. And then do things to not just create more insurance products, but actually do things to pull the cost of health care down.
President Trump signed an executive order this week aimed at limiting states' ability to regulate AI. Congress has previously rejected similar measures.
President Trump says the AI industry can't excel under a patchwork of state regulations.
We have the big investment coming, but if they had to get 50 different approvals from 50 different states, you can forget it because it's not possible to do.
He says one uniform federal framework would help the U.S. win the AI arms race. That's the goal of an executive order signed Thursday.
Not doing this would be the greatest gift to China and other countries.
The order also creates a litigation task force to challenge state AI laws, excluding those related to child safety protections.
I don't think states should have the ability to regulate AI.
Indiana Republican Congressman Marlin Stutzman supports the order.
That way we put America at the forefront and leading on that issue rather than being divided amongst ourselves.
But limiting states when it comes to AI hasn't proven popular in Congress. A measure that would have banned states from regulating AI for 10 years was removed from the big, beautiful bill over the summer.
And recent efforts to include a provision barring states from regulating AI in the annual defense spending bill failed too.
We took that provision out. I think it's pandering to AI companies.
Virginia Democratic Congressman Eugene Vindman says Congress does need to regulate AI, but disagrees with the executive order.
We need to find a balance for appropriate regulation for this industry.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says he doesn't think the order is legal.
And ultimately, it's going to get struck down in court.
The order also threatens to restrict certain funding to states with AI laws. In Washington, I'm Maddie Beertemple.
President Trump announced a $12 billion aid package for American farmers. It comes as farmers are dealing with reduced crop prices and higher costs due to tariffs. Our Kristen Eskow reports.
The Trump administration says the aid would be distributed as direct payments to farmers by the end of February. President Trump touted his tariffs during the announcement, saying the money collected from those tariffs is being used to fund this assistance.
We love our farmers.
Joined by farmers at the White House, President Trump announced a $12 billion farm aid package.
I think you brought Christmas to farmers. With this bridge payment, we'll be able to farm another year, help us get by.
Iowa farmer Court Holub says he's thankful for the president's support.
Maximizing domestic farm production is a big part of how we will make America affordable again and bring down grocery prices for American families.
The aid package includes $11 billion for the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Farmer Bridge Assistance Program. It sends farmers one-time payments for row crops. The remaining $1 billion will go to farmers who grow crops not covered by the Bridge Assistance Program.
These direct payments will give producers the breathing room they need to market this year's harvest and plan for next season.
The Trump administration says the money is coming from tariff revenue. Some farmers say the tariffs, particularly those on China, contributed to lower crop prices and higher operational costs.
Now Donald Trump's patting himself on the back, acting like a hero to farmers, while using taxpayer dollars to clean up the mess he created.
Democrats maintain President Trump's tariffs are only hurting, not helping farmers.
So if I were a farmer, I wouldn't count on this money.
Earlier this fall, President Trump announced that China had agreed to purchase large quantities of soybeans after a pause earlier this year. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says China is expected to hit its purchasing goal by the end of February. In Washington, I'm Kristen Eskow.
The Supreme Court heard arguments this week in a case dealing with the president's power to fire officials at independent agencies. Conservative justices seemed to side with the president's argument, while liberals said it would give him too much power. President Trump's move to fire Federal Trade Commission official Rebecca Slaughter without cause is now before the High Court. The president's lawyer is asking justices to overturn a 90-year-old precedent known as Humphreys that limits when presidents can fire board members.
Humphreys poses a direct threat to our constitutional structure and, as a result, the liberty of the American people.
Solicitor General D. John Sauer says these agencies amount to an unaccountable fourth branch of government, and the president should be able to fire people. But liberal justices warned that gives too much power to the president, taking away the independence and expertise of agencies.
You're asking us to destroy the structure of government. The result of what you want is that the president is going to have massive, unchecked, uncontrolled power.
Conservative justices seemed to side with the president, though Justice Brett Kavanaugh said he shares concerns that this could be a slippery slope to other agencies losing independence, like the Federal Reserve. It comes after President Trump has said he wanted to fire Chairman Jerome Powell over interest rate decisions.
How would you distinguish the Federal Reserve from agencies such as the Federal Trade Commission?
Sauer said the Fed is a unique structure that wouldn't be affected by this specific challenge. A decision on the case is expected by next summer. The U.S. seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela this week, escalating tensions in the region. Our Trevor Shirley reports.
The White House says the seizure was legal under U.S. law, but already some lawmakers are questioning that. Dramatic video released Wednesday by the Justice Department shows U.S. commandos fast-roping via helicopter onto the deck of that oil tanker before storming the ship and taking control.
We've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so.
The ship, identified as the Skipper, was reportedly carrying around 2 million barrels of raw crude. The DOJ says the tanker was allegedly moving oil illegally between Venezuela and Iran. According to the Associated Press, the tanker was previously named Adisa and was sanctioned during the Biden administration for being part of a network of tankers smuggling oil for militant groups in Iran and Lebanon.
Seems to me a very dangerous escalation and prelude to
There's a conflict we should not be involved in.
But some lawmakers already raising concerns about ulterior motives by the White House, in particular forcing Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro from power.
I'm worried about what this regime is doing with regard to Venezuela.
But others are defending the White House's approach to Venezuela, saying the point is to stop drugs.
The poison that Maduro is flooding into this country is killing Americans, and President Trump is fulfilling his responsibility as commander-in-chief by saying we're going to stop this poison that's killing our kids.
The Venezuelan government calling the seizure an illegal act of piracy. As for the oil aboard that tanker,
well, we keep it, I guess.
The seizure comes as the U.S. continues to strike suspected Venezuelan drug boats around the Caribbean and as the U.S. military buildup in the region keeps growing. Reporting in Washington, I'm Trevor Shirley.
Lawmakers here in Washington say it's time to hold social media companies accountable. Here's what they're proposing.
Australia is now requiring social media companies to remove accounts belonging to children under 16 or face significant fines.
They are doing it because they've about had it with these social media platforms.
Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn says the U.S. should follow their lead, warning children face dangers online.
They are exposed to pedophiles and predators and groomers. They are exposed to drug traffickers.
The ban hits home for parents who have experienced those risks firsthand, like Tamia Woods, whose son died by suicide after a sextortion scheme against him.
What if we would have had these laws in place? It would have still made a difference.
Advocates say age limits alone aren't enough.
So we need to be able to look at ways of holding the social media companies and online platforms responsible, as well as the device.
And Connecticut Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal says Congress has to act.
So far as federal legislation is concerned, what we need is votes.
There's no federal ban yet, but lawmakers say they're talking with tech companies about new online safety protections for kids. Reporting in Washington, Rashad Hudson.
This week, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates for the third time this year. The move could lower borrowing costs as Americans say they're concerned about the cost of living.
The Federal Reserve announced a 0.25 percentage point cut in interest rates Wednesday. Chairman Jerome Powell says the move
should help stabilize the labor market while allowing inflation to resume its downward trend toward 2%.
But President Trump, who frequently attacks Powell, said the cut isn't enough.
He did a rather small number that could have been doubled, at least doubled.
It's the third rate cut this year and comes after a government shutdown that led to a canceled October jobs report and delayed November data.
We have a data vacuum in October and November.
that the Federal Reserve really wishes didn't exist.
Bankrate financial analyst Stephen Cates says this cut alone may not make a big difference, but when combined with the other 2 cuts this year,
That does lower borrowing rates.
The rate cut comes as the White House is putting a focus on affordability, something President Trump has called a Democrat hoax.
And I have no higher priority than making America affordable again.
During a rally in Pennsylvania Tuesday, President Trump blamed former President Biden for inflation.
They caused the high prices and we're bringing them down.
But Democrats like California Congressman Pete Aguilar say cost of living concerns could get worse as healthcare costs are set to soar with subsidies expiring at the end of the year.
Republicans have no real plan to ensure Americans' healthcare premiums don't skyrocket.
The White House says the president's affordability messaging tour will continue with more events in the coming weeks. In Washington, I'm Maddie Beertemple. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of DC Daily. I'm Maddie Beertemple here with Washington correspondent Trevor Shirley to talk about some of the highlights and big news that happened this week. Starting with healthcare, we know that we're approaching this December 31st deadline for these Affordable Care Act subsidies that help a lot of Americans afford their healthcare. And we're facing this deadline where they could expire if Congress doesn't act. And so far, we're getting very close to that day, and there still has been no solution that Congress has passed. We saw the Senate failed to pass both a Republican and Democrat proposal this week, and it's still looking unclear whether the House may come up with something. So we're still waiting to see what could happen here. But Trevor, what are some of the proposals we've seen, and how are Democrats and Republicans supporting each of them?
Yeah, so this was really do or die week for Congress in terms of getting something passed that could avoid this healthcare cliff that the country is heading towards. Basically, what happened was a few years ago, Congress passed these COVID-era tax credits for people on the Affordable Care Act or who use Obamacare for their health insurance. Congress knew this cliff was coming, and they really haven't come up with any solution to address it. Now we're staring this down, and come January 1st, you're going to have millions of Americans who are going to see their health care costs skyrocket. Some estimates are that people could be paying more than 100% more than they currently are. That means people who are paying, maybe $300 or $400 a month for their health insurance are now looking at costs potentially $1,200 to $1,300 a month. It's going to force millions of people off of their health insurance, or they're going to maybe drop down to cheaper plans where they don't get the kind of coverage that they would like to get. So Congress has been trying to figure this out. Democrats, for the most part, want to extend these tax credits for another 3 years. There is a group of centrist Democrats and Republicans that have proposed extending these for one more year to buy Congress some more time to come up with kind of a better long-term fix. And then you've got Republicans who have these ideas that are kind of all over the place. On the one hand, you've got some Republicans that say, let's give money directly to Americans so that they can, buy their own health insurance. They don't have to worry about the marketplace. You've got some that are saying, let's give people money directly so that they can just use that to offset the cost of losing these tax credits. So there's really a lot up in the air right now. The White House says it's going to release its proposals soon, but so far hasn't put out any kind of solid policy in terms of what the president would like to see. And I think that's really holding up Republicans, especially because it's tough for Republicans in Congress to come up with any ideas, not knowing whether or not the White House is going to be on board. So there's always that potential that they could get something passed. But again, we're coming up to the holiday recess, and Congress, in all likelihood, isn't going to get another round of votes on health care off the ground before they head out for the Christmas holiday.
Yeah, there's not much time left, so we'll have to see next week how quickly they're able to act or if they can even pass anything. Another big story this week, we saw that the U.S. forces seized a Venezuelan oil tanker. They say that this was something that was sanctioned, carrying black market oil, and that the U.S. had been had a warrant approved to go after. And so now the U.S. has this in its possession. And the White House defended this seizure this week, saying that it's simply enforcing sanctions and enforcing the law. There's been a lot of concern, though, that this is an escalation in these tensions with Venezuela, especially after all of these strikes we've seen on suspected boats that are carrying drugs to the U.S. Though there's a lot of questions about that, especially in Congress, and whether this is inching the U.S. closer to war. So, Trevor, what have we heard from lawmakers here, from the White House? It seems like this is just continuing to inch its way a little bit more dangerous every day.
Yeah, I mean, for the past several months, we've seen the White House really putting the pressure on Venezuela for, to try to force that country's president, Nicolas Maduro, from power. We've seen this massive military buildup around the Caribbean. You've seen the strikes happening on those suspected Venezuelan drug boats all around the Caribbean. And now you've seen this seizure of this oil tanker earlier this week by U.S. Special Forces. We know that this tanker was under sanction. The White House says that. And in fact, that tanker had been sanctioned back in 2022 by the Biden administration. So the sanctioning of that tanker didn't originate with the Trump administration this year. It goes back several years. The Biden Justice Department and the intelligence community had reason to believe that this ship was part of basically a shadow network of ships that were smuggling illegal oil from Venezuela to Islamic militant groups in the Middle East, particularly out of Iran and Lebanon. So this ship had been on the U.S.'s radar for some time, but the timing is significant, and that's what some lawmakers are kind of raising their eyebrows over. That the U.S. has known this ship was involved in allegedly illegal activities for years, and now the White House has decided to seize it. Obviously part of this greater effort to exert pressure on Venezuela to get some kind of an outcome that the White House deems desirable.
And looking ahead to next week, we'll have to see if Congress moves forward on a last-ditch effort to save these ACA subsidies. We also saw an interest rate cut by the Fed this week, the third one this year, comes as the White House is pushing out this new affordability messaging. So we do expect to see Vice President J.D. Vance speaking in Pennsylvania next week about that. So we'll keep an eye on it for you all here at the DC Bureau. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to check us out next week.
And then I messaged my aunt, and I realized when I was talking to my mom, she just stopped replying.
On Tuesday night, Dankulich's mother, 66-year-old Marilyn Waller, was the only victim of 3 who survived an attack by a man with a machete. 38-year-old Michael Woods is charged with the attack. He is facing several charges, including check on her mother.
Then I saw the scanner pages, and I just kept reading.
Starts right now.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for 2822 News at 7. I'm Candace Kelly. The daughter of the sole survivor in this week's horrific machete attack in Scranton is speaking exclusively with 2822 News. Marisa Danklich told us that she did not know something had happened to her mom until a friend at a hair salon next to the German apartments messaged her. Her mother, 66-year-old Marilyn Waller, was the only victim of 3 who survived an attack by a man with a machete. 38-year-old Michael Woods is charged with the attack. He's facing several charges, including 2 counts of homicide and attempted homicide.
This is stuff you see